The moment you just lived, scientists say it still exists. Right now, somewhere in this universe. There is a theory about time so disturbing that physicists understand it completely and still refuse to accept it. And by the end of this video, you will never think about time, death, or your own existence the same way again. What if I told you that right now? This very second, every version of you that has ever existed, and every version that will ever exist, is happening simultaneously, not as a metaphor, not as philosophy, as physics. There is a theory about time so radical, so deeply unsettling, that many physicists who understand it completely refuse to talk about it publicly. Not because it's wrong, but because if it's right, it changes everything we think we know about reality, about death, about free will, and about what you actually are. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never look at a clock the same way again. Let's start with what you think you know about time. You wake up in the morning. Time is moving forward. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow hasn't happened. There is only now, this thin slice of the present that you're standing on, while the past disappears behind you and the future rushes toward you. This is called the moving spotlight view of time. It feels obvious. It feels unquestionable. It's the foundation of how every human being on Earth experiences reality. It is almost certainly wrong. Here's where it gets strange. In 1905, Albert Einstein published his theory of special relativity. Most people know the famous parts, E equals mc squared. Nothing travels faster than light. But buried inside that theory was something that physicists still struggle to fully accept over 100 years later. Einstein proved mathematically that time is not a river flowing in one direction. Time is a dimension, just like length, width, and height. And just like those three dimensions of space don't move or flow, time doesn't either. It simply exists. All of it. At once. This idea has a name. Physicists call it the block universe. Or sometimes, eternalism. The block universe theory says that the past, the present, and the future are equally real. They all exist simultaneously in a four-dimensional structure, three dimensions of space, one dimension of time, and what we call the present moment is just our perspective as we move through it. Think of it this way. Imagine a film reel. Every frame of the movie already exists on that reel, the beginning, the middle, the end. When you watch the movie, you experience it frame by frame, sequentially. But the frames don't disappear after you've seen them. And the future frames don't fail to exist until you reach them. They're all there, right now on the reel. The block universe says your life, your entire life, is like that film reel. Every moment you've ever lived still exists. Every moment you haven't lived yet already exists. You are moving through time the way your eye moves across a page. But the page was already written. The word now is meaningless in this framework. Or more precisely, every moment is equally now. Einstein himself believed this, deeply, personally. When his lifelong friend Michel Besso died in 1955, Einstein wrote a letter to the Besso family. He was dying himself. He had only weeks left. And in that letter, he wrote something that has haunted physicists and philosophers ever since. He said that Besso had departed from this strange world a little ahead of me. But then he added, that means nothing. For us believing physicists, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. A stubbornly persistent illusion. The man who understood time better than anyone who had ever lived believed that time, as we experience it, is not real. That his dead friend still existed somewhere in the block. That his own death, weeks away, was already there, already real, already happening, and also already over. Einstein was not speaking poetically. He was speaking as a physicist. Now here is where it gets truly uncomfortable. If the block universe is correct, if every moment in time already exists, then there is no such thing as the future being open or undetermined. Everything that will ever happen has, in a very real sense, already happened. Your choices, your decisions, the seemingly spontaneous thoughts you're having right now, they are all fixed points in the four-dimensional structure of space-time. They exist. They have always existed. You are not making choices. You are discovering them. Moment by moment, as your consciousness moves through the block. Free will, in the traditional sense, would be an illusion. This is why scientists hesitate. It's not that the math doesn't work. It does. The equations of Einstein's relativity don't just permit the block. Universe, they demand it. When you do the mathematics of space-time rigorously, a universe in which time flows and the future is open simply doesn't emerge. You have to add extra assumptions. Assumptions that have no physical basis to get rid of the block. The physics is clear. The philosophy is unbearable. But wait, it gets stranger still. In the 1970s, physicist John Wheeler proposed something called the participatory universe. And when you combine it with the block universe, you get a theory so mind-bending that Wheeler himself said it kept him up at night. Wheeler argued, based on quantum mechanics, that the act of observation, consciousness interacting with reality, doesn't just reveal what's there. It actually determines what was there. He designed a thought experiment called the delayed choice experiment, and it has since been performed in laboratories. The results are confirmed. Here is what happens. A photon, a particle of light, is fired toward a detector. Before it arrives, you can choose to measure it in one of two ways. One measurement will show it behave like a particle. Another will show it behaved like a wave. Completely different behaviors. Completely different histories. Here's the disturbing part. The photon makes its decision, particle or wave, billions of years ago, when it left a distant quasar long before Earth existed. But which decision it made depends on the measurement you choose to perform today. The present is reaching back through the block and changing the past. Wheeler's conclusion was staggering. He said, "We are not simply bystanders on a cosmic stage. We are shapers and creators living in a participatory universe. The observers, us, are not separate from the block universe. We are the mechanism by which it becomes real." Now let's talk about what this means for death. If the block universe is real, then every moment of your life, including the first moment, including the last moment, exists permanently and indestructibly in the structure of space-time. You will die, but the version of you that is 5 years old, playing outside on a summer afternoon, still exists. Right now, simultaneously, in the same block. The you that is reading these words exists permanently in the fabric of the universe. Even after the body that is reading them stops functioning, you don't go anywhere after death. You were never a temporary thing to begin with. You are a feature of four-dimensional space-time, and features of space-time don't disappear. Carlo Rovelli, one of the most respected theoretical physicists alive today, has said this: "The present moment always will have been." Think about that. Always will have been. The past is the only thing in the universe that cannot be taken from you. It is permanent, immovable, eternal. In the block universe, every happy moment you have ever lived is not gone. It is simply located at a different coordinate in space-time. It exists with the same reality as the chair you are sitting in right now. So why don't scientists talk about this more? Because the implications are paralyzing. If the block is real, then the future is fixed, and every attempt to change it is itself already part of the block. Your decision to work harder, to be kinder, to make different choices, that decision was already there. Already written, already real. And so was its outcome. Some physicists respond to this by proposing modifications, the growing block theory, where the past is fixed and real, but the future is genuinely open and doesn't yet exist. But this theory has its own problems. It requires a universal now, a single present moment shared across the entire universe. And Einstein proved that doesn't exist either. Observers moving at different velocities have different nows. There is no universal present. The growing block collapses under the weight of relativity. Others propose that quantum mechanics saves free will. That quantum randomness introduces genuine indeterminacy into the block. But randomness is not freedom. A decision made randomly is not a decision made freely. Quantum indeterminacy doesn't give you free will. It just makes the universe a dice roll. The honest answer, the answer most physicists will give you if you push them hard enough, in private, off the record, is this: we don't know. We have a mathematical framework that describes the universe with extraordinary precision. That framework strongly implies that time is not what we think it is, that the block universe is real, that past and future exist as solidly as the present. And we have no idea what to do with that. Here is what I want you to sit with. Right now, at this moment, somewhere in the block, a version of you is being born. Somewhere else in the block, a version of you is dying. Somewhere in the block, the best day of your life is happening right now, simultaneously with the worst, simultaneously with this moment. Every person you have ever loved still exists in the block, not as a memory, as a reality, anchored in space-time at a specific set of coordinates, as real as anything can be. The grief we feel for the past, the desperate wish to return to a moment we've lost, maybe a feeling that is responding to something true. Those moments are not gone. We simply cannot navigate back to them. But they exist. And the fear of the future, the anxiety about what is coming, may be slightly more absurd than we realize. The future is already there. You are not falling toward an unknown darkness. You are moving through a terrain that already exists. You have already lived your entire life. You just don't remember it yet. Einstein said it was an illusion, the distinction between past, present, and future, stubbornly persistent, deeply felt, possibly wrong. The theory of time that scientists hesitate to accept is not fringe physics. It is not pseudoscience. It is the logical consequence of the best confirmed physical theory in the history of human knowledge. And if it's true, then you are not a brief candle flickering in the dark, burning down to nothing. You are a permanent structure in the architecture of the universe. You always were. You always will have been.